What's going on, traders? It's your boy Matt, back at it again with another daily recap video. I know I have not uploaded any videos in the last 2 weeks. The main reason for that was I was really unwell. I had to isolate myself. I didn't even leave my bedroom. Especially the first week, I didn't even take any trades. I stayed in my bedroom. The second week, near the end of it, on last week Friday and Thursday, I was out here. I traded. I took a couple of trades. But I didn't have the videos recorded, but I shared all my trades, my entries and exits in the chat room. So that's the main reason why I haven't been uploaded. But right now I feel great. I'm all better now. I'm back on trading. And you guys can expect the trading recap videos and the lessons that we're learning together pretty much on a daily basis. Now that's out of the way, let's get into today's trading session. As you guys can see right here, I am up $813 today. I took a couple of trades. I traded a couple of tickers. The first ticker that I traded was CCNC. CCNC is this one here. So this one here, the idea was, I was having a chat with one of my mates in the chat room, and he sent me a couple of charts, and I saw that he was shorting once stuff goes parabolic, pulls back, and he was shorting here, anticipating for the pullback, and he got squeezed. So that kind of gave me an idea, and I kind of almost formulated a strategy where when you see something like this and the resistance and the risk level, the support level is right here, pretty low, then you can actually load up a bit of shares, and then you can sell it into the push market open, and then you can flip short and short it. So that was the idea. As you guys can see here, I bought in 300 shares, and I wanted to add if it gave me the dip towards this 220 to 210 area, but I got in around like 260. Only 300 shares. It didn't give me the pullback. I wanted about 1,200 shares, but it didn't give me the pullback that I wanted. So as it was ramping up, I took a lot of it here, and then I held the rest until the open. It went into a hold, and out of the hold, I was looking at it. So what I was looking for out of the hold is, I'm a short seller, and if I see something where as a short seller would get into, then as a long trader on this particular scenario, I want to get out of that position and flip short. So I sold all of the shares that I bought. That was the last exit, and I was trying to flip into short. I was trying to locate, but there was no locates. As you guys can see, it dropped from, almost $4 all the way to $2. So it gave almost $1 per share drop. So if you if you shorted there about 1,000 or 2,000 shares, that's a $2,000 gain right there that I missed. So, but it's been pretty crowded, and there's no locates. So I made about $144 on that. The next trade that I took was JKS. Now, this one here, I traded it last week Friday, and I told myself I would not trade this again because, if you guys look at the daily chart on this thing, JKS, it's really overextended on the daily chart. So I was trying to pick the tops, thinking it would give us a crack, but this thing just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. It's not looking back, it's going higher. Every time it cracks like this, I think it's the backside now. I shorted, it squeezes back up, it bounces back up, I get squeezed. So because of that happened 2 or 3 times, I said I'm not going to touch this again. But guess what? I broke my own rule again today, and I got in here short into this crack thinking, okay, maybe we can go below VWAP. I shorted here 100 shares. My ultimate risk was here, and I added I think 500 shares there, so I had 100 shares and 500 shares. Now this is how you should add, if you can add. The reason why is because now this thing popped, I cut everything here for, the 500 shares that I added, I cut them for a very small loss. The 100 shares, yes, of course, I lost a little bit on that one, about $100. So all in all, I lost on that trade almost $300. So I lost $291. So that put me about $140 down right on the day, and then I funded all the shorts, and I said I'm not touching this stock anymore. That's it. This will be the last time I'm going to trade it, and that was that. So that put me right on the day. And the next trade that I took after that was so the next stock that I traded was KXIN. And what happened with this thing was a very crazy thing. So it was a gapper from about $1 for about $2 area. It pushed the day before. It came from $1.50, it went higher, pullback. I played this on Friday. I'm pretty sure I made a decent amount of money on it, and then it pushed back up again, and then it starts to push. Now the idea that what I was looking for was a parabolic move, something like this, to have a starter short, and then as it goes higher, I'll add into that parabolic. But it pushed higher, it pulled back down, it cracked, and if you guys can see here, sorry if I'm a little bit out of breath. As you guys can see, this looks like, if you're looking at that, this looks like the backside. I mean, this thing came pretty much from $2 all the way to $10. Now it cracked, it put a major crack. But no, that's not where it stopped. They saved it up, they bought it, so that's where I covered a majority of them. And then when this was happening, because I was anticipating this thing would crack, go into a downside hold, and wash out, as the others should do. But if you guys remember SPI, MNGX, and a couple of other tickers, KODK, the way they went up is they do go parabolic like that. It pulls back, but these pullbacks are, you know, they're about, you know, $1, $2 pullbacks, right? And you think that's the backside, but they're never going to hold. The hold level is right at the low. They supported. You can see the bid stepping up. They supported. They trap shorts and they rip it again. So this thing kept going higher all the way to $13. Now $13, that was a massive fight. You guys will be able to see the actual live trading recap. It was a massive fight on that one. It put a backside there. I tried it a little bit there, made a little bit of profit in that, and that was that. I didn't touch it. So what I was looking for, because I was anticipating this thing could potentially go to the $20 area, as you know, SPI and KODK and all that did. So what I was looking for was that parabolic movement, you know, really overextended parabolic move. It didn't give me my entries to go in full size on this thing, so I didn't go full size on it. I nibbled it a little bit in and out, and that was it. I mean, the only time that I almost went full size, I went in 600 shares with an average of 9 there. I wanted to cover to the 8, but I jumbled that one up. I didn't. You guys will be able to see the live video. I didn't execute it properly. So that was that. I mean, I made almost 200 bucks on this one, and then I lost, you know, and then I lost 93, and then on this move right here, I made another $123. So up, down, up, down. I think I made about 200 bucks out of that trade. Nothing great. That was JKS, the loss. The next one that I traded was AAPL. Now Apple, the reason why I traded it was I shouldn't have. Yes, I'm green on it, like, you know, what, $12, but I shouldn't have traded this, right? The reason why I shouldn't have traded this is not my strategy. This is not my play. But it was washing out for some reason. SPY was dropping, SPY was washing out, and this was washing out with it as well. So I shorted this. No, I went long on this, anticipating it would have a bounce because the SPY was a little bit bouncing. But as you guys can see, it didn't move, so I took it off for a $12 profit. But again, this is a no trade in my strategy. I mean, it would have made a beautiful short trade. I was reading up, and there's a strategy called pyramiding. It's called pyramid. There's this really good trader that I learned it off, and basically what he does is he would have a starter as it's washing out. He would be adding into the position, lowering his risk down. But that's a whole lot of a different topic that we'll be talking about. So the next stock I traded was MARPS. Now MARPS, I totally screwed this one up. It wasn't a proper, though I made about almost $1,000 on the trade. It was a really terrible trade. Both, you know, both the long, both the short side and the cover, both of them were terrible. So I had a starter here, run up and got into a hold. I had a starter there. I had 600 shares because it looked weak. It wasn't pushing out of the hold, so that's why I got in. And then it smacked back down. I took in half of it, 300 shares. I took in for about, I think, $150 profit or something like that. So 600 shares from, you know, from 430 to 60. That I was up about almost 500 bucks, right? So I took half of the profit. I locked it in. It came back up. This was where I should have cut the rest of the 300 shares that I had. I should have cut it here, because when you see a major crack like this, same scenario with KXIN, right? You see how it put a major crack here. If you short into this, but as it's claiming it back, if you don't cut, then I mean this is 9. You'll get squeezed all the way to 13.50. Right? You'll be down to a $4 per share. So you need to be able to cut when a stock cracks in and it looks like it's put on the backside, but it's coming up. The reason why is because if it looks like it's put on the backside, a lot of short sales would come and attack it. And when this reclaims, those short sales are going to get squeezed. They're going to outbid each other, and it would go higher. So okay, this thing is moving. Let's see. Wow. Okay. All right, guys. So KXIN. So KXIN, same thing with KXIN, right? It's a very similar idea with KXIN. As you guys can see, it cracked. It looks like it put the backside, but when it reclaims, you need to get out here. If you don't get out here at $9, $9.70, this thing went all the way to $13.50. You'll get squeezed. The reason why you got to get out in this kind of situation is because, the main reason is because once it looks like it put the backside, what usually end up happening is short sales would come into this, and if this reclaims, now those short sellers, they're trying to get out, and they'll start outbidding each other, which is adding fuel to the fire. So it would really make a parabolic move. I mean, if you didn't cut out here, this is a $4, almost a $3.5, $4 move. You'll get squeezed on your shares. So same thing here. MARPS. So when it reclaimed. So when it reclaimed here, I should have been out. And I should have been downsizing into here, anticipating to add into a very higher level. Don't worry about it. I am in a position right now. I'm up about 40 bucks. So this might make me 900 bucks on a day, or maybe 1,000. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, so that was the idea. But I didn't take my own advice. I added, and in fact, it went into a halt. So I was down. When it got out of halt, I added again. But what I did here is, out of this hold, when it came back up, I covered some. I took some off, and then I added it at a higher price, right? I added it at a higher price. It came back up here. I added again. I let it go up. It was smacked down into a downside hold. So as you guys can see here in the chat room, I was telling everybody this is the kind that will go into a downside hold once it's done moving. Right, so I knew, I was anticipating, I was counting on this going into a downside hold. This was what I was actually communicating to the people. This is a kind that will go into a downside hold once it's done moving. So that's what I had in mind, and that's exactly what it did. The only problem was I was in about 1,200 shares here. I wanted to go a bit more aggressive in this trade. I wanted to go 3,000-4,000 shares. I wanted to add into this. But the problem is, once it got to that, I was trying to locate more shares. I was trying to look at 1,200 more. But what happened was locates were like 800 bucks, $800 for locates. And in good conscience, I didn't want to pay 800 bucks for locates. So I was like, I would rather not add. And this thing smacked back down, and it came back, and I covered everything for about $1,200 gain into that. So this thing is dropping. I'm out. As you guys can see right now, I am up 900 bucks, right? This was the last trade that I took. All right, so now here's the really shitty part. So if I added there, locates were cheap, and I added there, I would have had like 2,000-3,000 shares for 6 or 7 average, and I would have covered here into the 4. Even with this average, with my average was around $5 area. So it was about 5.40 was where it was showing me. It's showing $5 because where I cut. So if you cut into this, that loss and all of that gets into account. So my average was, I'm pretty sure, it was a 560 area. No, 540. 540 was my average. So 540, I cut it here at 640. So that's what happened. So as you guys can see, I cut it right here at 540, but this thing went all the way to 340. So I left $1,200 profit on the table on this thing. So I left a major profit on this thing, which was fine. So this is a lesson for me for next time. hold longer than what you think. And there's nothing I can do about the commissions. I mean, they were pretty expensive. There's nothing you can do about it. It was $700, really expensive for 1,000 shares. I mean, for 1,000 shares to pay $700, it's pretty, almost $1 per share you paying for locate. So for that's the main reason why I didn't locate this. And the last trade that I took was right here, CBLA. Yeah, I skipped a couple of trades that I didn't make a lot of money on it. This one here, as you guys can see, the trade was just happening. CBLI. Last one is CBLI. CBLI, as you guys can see, the trade was just happening. So I shorted here and I covered here, and then I added back here, and then I covered here. Right, this is what happened. So all in all, I think I made about almost $100 on it. So not bad trade. You sit in here, you explain the stuff, and you're up $100. So today I am up $909. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to trade with me and see, what I'm thinking, my thought process in terms of, short sale or whatever, I have a chat room, Discord. I'll put the link down below. Make sure you join in and come and talk to me. And also make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. Help me grow it, so I'll be able to put out, motivates me to put out more educational materials. Thanks for watching, guys, and enjoy the live trading video. Oh, wow, this looks really good as well. I might trade this, I might not, but I'll probably end it here. Thanks, guys. Alright, guys, welcome to the live trading part of this video. As you guys can see, I'm holding 75 shares of CCNC. I bought this thing pre-market. I bought in 300 shares to that 250 area from the 264 area, and I sold half into the rump just before the open, and now I'm holding half. Now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this looks weak. If I was short seller, this is where I want to go in. So I'm going to get out of my long position for a profit of $144. And I was trying to short it here. I was trying to locate, but I couldn't find any locates. So, if you short here, easy 1,500 share short here would have been very awesome. As you guys can see, it was weak. It didn't hold. Out of the gate when it opened, it wasn't pushing, it was struggling. So that was a sign for me to get into a short position, which means I had to get out of the long. Now, as you guys can see here, I got back in JKS. So JKS was a stock that I promised myself on Friday that I wasn't going to touch it because it just, if you guys are looking at the daily chart, it kept pushing higher and higher and higher and higher. And I kept losing money on it. And as you guys can see, I am in it again here, 500 shares, and I just lost about $200, almost $300 on it into this view-up bounce. So I just got out of JKS, and I won't be trading this thing anymore. As you guys can see, I lost $291 on it, and that put me red on the day. So I shouldn't have touched this thing because on Friday, I promised myself I wasn't going to trade it. Now this thing just popped on the scanner. I'm watching that. I'm looking at it. I am already in 600 shares from, as you guys can see, the average here from 899 area. So what I was looking for in this thing is this kind of major parabolic, and I'm holding the 600 shares. So now the ideal trade here would have been, I'm looking forward to cover that $8 area, right? So if I cover $8 area, I would have been up. Nice, 600 bucks. I would have been up. So that was the area that I wanted to cover. But unfortunately, I took a little bit there, and I'm still holding. As you guys can see, I'm still down. About 100 and 120 bucks on a day. But I'm profit on this trade. But I'm thinking this should have gone into a downside hold right here. This should have dropped into a downside hold. That would have been the ideal thing. But as you guys can see, it's not really dropped and going into a downside hold. I'll show you guys where I entered right here. This is where I shorted. This is the first cover that I had. I should have waited for $8 to cover for that. So as you guys can see, this is not running down into a downside hold and a washout. So as you guys, they're supporting it, which means this thing is not dead yet. This is not the top. So this thing, I'm thinking in my head, it could go and see a new high because it's not really washing out. It should have run into a downside hold, that would have been the ideal thing, but it's not. They're holding it up. Fast forward here, as you guys can see, it did try to bounce, and then it started to pull back down. So I'm covering, so it did pull up back to the 920. Now it's pulling back down. But as you guys can see, still it's not running into a downside hold. It's being supported. It's being bought up. If I held those 600 shares from the 9 average before, right now I would have been up, pretty nicely, about maybe $900 on it. But that is not what's happening, because I just chopped it. I kept going in and out and really screwing up my average. Fast forward here, as you guys can see, it did bounce from that 750 area, came back up again. Now this is a sign, the strength that it came up. And if you guys pay attention to the level 2, there's a lot of green prints going through. That balance is an indication to me that this thing is not done yet. It could see a new higher, and as you guys can see, it's coming up. So it's going to break the high. Now if it breaks the high, it's going to go higher. I'm completely out of my position. I am down $300 on the day. I probably was up on the day when it hit that $7 area, but right now I'm down $300, and I'm waiting and holding what this is gonna do. Fast forward here a little bit. As you guys can see, this candle right now is an upside down doji. That's a rejection candle right there. That's a rejection candle right there, and that this would have been kind of a sign to have a starter position here. But I am not. I'm thinking this thing is going to be, if you guys remember, SPI kind of move that could potentially go to the 20. Every time when I thought it was the backside, it cracked. Every time when I thought it was the backside, it cracked. It didn't. It actually supported, came back up higher. So I'm thinking, okay, it could support here and go higher again. And if that happened, this could potentially end like a the JKS kind of trade where it bounced from the V1. Now this is another trade where it went into a hold, got out of hold. As you guys can see, I'm in 300 shares, and I hit it again because I'm seeing weakness. Now I'm holding 600 shares with an average of 428, so 430 average. I'm holding 600 shares, so I'm looking for this thing to go into run into a downside hold, and then I cover. So I'm staying patient here. I'm just going to fast forward here a little bit and show you guys what happened. Yep, so it's looking pretty weak here. I'm already in 600 shares because that's how much I allocated at the moment. And I'm thinking if it goes higher, I probably would, gives me room to add. As you guys can see, boom, almost into a downside hold. And I'm trying to cover here at 336, 300 shares. I took half of. Now I am up almost $200 on the day. Now the ideal trade with this one would have been, if this comes up back to the high, it means it wants blood. It means it wants to go higher. So as a short seller, I shouldn't have been, you shouldn't be adding if this bounces from here. This is a major crack. If it bounces like this is where I should have gotten out right here. For a $58 loss, I would have been okay. Because this thing cracked majorly, but it decided to come back up. Right? So this is where you start downsizing, because this could potentially rip up. Once it put in an indication where it looked like a backside, a major pullback, if they support that pullback and start bouncing it up, then you got to get out, because this is going to make a new high, right? But I wasn't listening to my own advice, and I'm still holding the 300 shares. I shouldn't have been holding. I should have cut it here for a $70 loss. Now, as you guys can see, it ripped into an upside hold. That puts me back to $300 down again, right? And now I added, to make things worse, I added another 300 shares right here, as you guys can see. I shouldn't have been adding. This was a cut area, not an add, right? Because the major reason is it went into a downside. As you guys can see, it says I'm down $500 at the moment. So the major reason for this thing is it cracked. Now it's an upside hold. It cracked and went into a downside hold, and it supported and came back up. If it does that, you got to get out, because it means that there's a lot of buyers. It could go higher. I'm going to fast forward here to show you out of the hold. So it went higher out of the hold, and it went back down into a downside hold. I added more shares, and as you guys can see, I am in 1,200 shares in. This thing went higher, and now it's coming back down. So it says I'm up $680 on it. My average is $5.40, so I'm looking to cover this. As you guys can see, where my cover here at is 440 area. which means I want to make $1 per share on profit on this trade, gaining $1,200 dollars profit. So fast forward here, it's coming to that $4.50 area. I shouldn't have covered everything here. What I should have done would have been take a little bit here, because now it's the backside. It could give me more. This thing could go to the 3 area, and in fact, it actually did go to the 3 area. And I got out here at I got out at 4.40 when this thing went to $3. So I left another about another $1,200 profit. So as you guys can see, I made $967 on it. This is the next trade that I got in, is LYL. I was in about 1,000 shares here, but I cut down some when it kept popping up, and it's flat topping, so I'm not sure if it's going to go higher. So I'm thinking I have 700 shares, which means I have 2.5 more adds I can have if this decides to go higher. But I was in about 1,000 shares with an average of 336. But I took the rest off. Every time it gives me dips like this, I take some profits out. So I'm just watching for this bigger move, but the problem is in my head right now, because that flat top right now, I'm thinking this could go higher, and if it goes higher, I will be able to add. So I wouldn't mind taking, as you guys can see, it bounced from this area lots of times. So if I cover this area and short the top, I'll be okay. So that's the mentality that I'm having here. I shouldn't have covered it, but unfortunately I did. And I'm looking at MARSP, and that thing went to the 350 area. So I left a lot of money on the table. So as you guys can see, I covered everything.